Hello, I'm Paul Zaychuk, founder of Elastic Steel, method of athletic conditioning, easy flexibility, and Z-Jets. Today we're going to talk about why some people who can do a true front split cannot do an open one, and people who can do an open one cannot do true one. There's a very common assumption that if someone can do a squared or a true front split, they will be able to do an open front split, but not the other way around. And that is not true. There's people who can do one and not the other. There's people who can do the one with hips turned out and not with hips turned in, and there's people who can do the one with hips turned in and not with the hips turned out, at least not properly. So the open front split I'm mentioning now is the open front split used by dancers and figure skaters, not the one used by martial artists. It's slightly different. If you want to see the difference between those two different open front splits, you can take a look at the video. So right now we're going to take a look at different muscles that are involved in a true front split versus the open front split, and which ones need to be flexible to master either one, and why people who can do one cannot do the other. So let's take a look. So what prevents this split from becoming this split? Okay, so first of all, we could see that the hips are more squared here than here. That's obvious. And we can see the position of the rear leg. So if we look at the front leg first, just the front leg, we're going to see that to be in this position with the rear hip being more forward, she needs more flexibility of that lateral hamstring. Okay? So let's assume, and this is just an example, Jacobel can do both splits and Antonina can do both splits, but here as an example, let's assume this is all she can do and this is all she can do. She will have tighter lateral hamstrings that's going to prevent her from doing this. Some of her glute muscles might also be tighter. So to be in this position, her hip has to be more in her horizontal flexion or horizontal adduction, which means that, again, the lateral hamstring and some of the glute muscles have to be more flexible. That's the front leg. Now the rear leg, we're talking about the turn in versus the turn out. So she has to turn that leg in. For her to turn that leg in, the muscle of turnout must be more flexible, which is the psoas iliacus and the sartorius. They're all lateral rotators. Okay? Rectus femoris is a lateral rotator too, slightly, but we're not worried about it because the knee here is extended. It will be more stretched if the knee was bent. And that's how to get this split to become this split, and why she can do this and she can't, for example. If we reverse and we see a person who can do this and not this, what happens here? Well, the muscles that internally rotate are not flexible enough to be rotated out or turn out. Which muscles are those? Well, all four adductors. They all flex the hip. So here the hip is in extension. It's also in lateral rotation, the all medial rotators. Also one of the hip flexors pectineus, and at the same time also tensor fasciae lata, which is also a medial rotator. So in order to turn out, we have to stretch it. And that's why someone who is doing this may not necessarily be able to do that if those muscles are tight. So I hope that helps. Thank you for watching.